Good evening, Lodi. Good to see you all. Coming at you from room 203 in City Hall, but it's the view from 202, which is my office next door. Good to see you all. With me tonight is my friend Nancy Long. She is one of our county board supervisors, representative for the west side of Lodi, I guess, right? The west side of Lodi, north?
I'm wards 4, 5, and 6, I guess.
And since we don't really have wards around here anymore, she's from that end of Lodi, that other side. And I'm delighted Nancy came to join me tonight. We're just going to do a lot of, this is just going to be conversational. We've got a whole lot of stuff we want to share with you. So I've got a list of announcements and events, and then we'll dive into some other stuff. So first of all, vaccinations. Vaccinations for COVID are readily available now. Numbers, as you all know, have gone down, but the Delta variant is incredibly troubling. And for those of us who have gotten vaccinated,
yes,
there's this sense of invincibility, which I know I shouldn't have that much, but there really is this sense of security that you get.
It's a sense of relief.
Yes.
That's at least my husband and I,
Agreed.
Just a comfort level.
Yes. And we've had family get-togethers recently, and to be able to hug and talk close and all that good stuff, it's been amazing. So the Delta variant, all the research is showing that the Moderna and Pfizer and J&J vaccines are protecting us from the variants, including the Delta variant out of India. That being said, the Delta variant is incredibly aggressive. It is causing higher hospitalization rates and higher death rates among those who are not vaccinated. So if anyone is hesitant about getting a vaccination, my perspective personally, I have a PhD. I'm a researcher. I'm fairly, I usually look into things somewhat before I jump in. I have read tons about these vaccinations, and I feel like I am so blessed to be here at this moment when we have the benefits of these vaccinations. The messenger RNA or mRNA technology used in Pfizer and Moderna has been researched for several decades, at least 2 decades it's been researched. This was the opportunity to deploy it. It's working beautifully. It is going to open the door to many other therapies using the mRNA technology. Did I have side effects from the second shot? Yeah, I was down for the count for maybe a day. It was not the greatest experience in the world, but I got through it, and once it was done, it was done. And
much better than having COVID.
Heavens, yes. Heavens, yes. And I just saw an interview this morning on CBS this morning with a gentleman, he and his wife both wound up in the hospital down in Missouri. If you've been following the news, the state of Missouri right now is the COVID hotspot in the country. And I believe it's over 20% of the cases are from the Delta variant. It may be higher down there. But the Delta variant, from where it was 2 weeks ago to where it is now, it has doubled, and that's going to continue. They think within 3-4 weeks at the most, the Delta variant is going to be the predominant variant.
It spreads much faster, apparently.
Much faster, and of course, for folks who aren't vaccinated, it's the hospitalization and death rate is pretty scary. The vaccination doesn't guarantee you're not going to get COVID necessarily, but it almost 98% to 100% guarantees that you are not going to get severely ill, you're not going to end up in the hospital, and you're not going to die. Now, to me, those are pretty good things.
Yeah.
So
and I think also important that you're not going to infect your loved ones.
Yes.
If you happen to be one of those folks who carries it, but you don't know it.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing, and I think we're all striving to get to what they call the herd immunity, so that enough of us are vaccinated that we can really put this virus behind us. I know Columbia County is doing quite well. I think we're now at 48.5% that have been fully vaccinated.
Fantastic.
55% have had at least one dose. So like Ann was saying, I encourage everyone to get vaccinated, and check out, if you're not sure, there's any number of pharmacies that offer it now, and certainly go to the County Health and Human Services website. They will list the clinics that the county is sponsoring.
Excellent. Thank you. That's great information. And the Sauk Hospital has been wonderful. That's where I wound up getting mine through. I don't know if any of you have friends, family that live in other countries. I have a friend who lives in France. I Skype with her every week. She finally got a vaccination like a week or two ago. A friend who grew up here, lives in Thailand, just got an appointment to get her first vaccination. They're begging for vaccinations in other countries. We have more vaccinations than need right now. So please, I encourage all of you to stay safe, get your fannies somewhere, get vaccinated. And remember, it's for ages 12 up right now. So young adults, don't take any chances. You think you're invincible. This couple out of Missouri that wound up in the hospital, they're not that young adults. They're like in their 40s. But, he said we're young and healthy and didn't think anything about it. And they both wound up in the hospital for 2 weeks. Not a pleasant experience. And thank goodness they're okay. But please get vaccinated. And just a reminder, the more happy host bodies the COVID virus has to infect, the more these aggressive variants are going to keep popping up. So if we want to stop the Delta variant, the Gamma variant, all the variants out of Brazil, the UK, Africa, India, South Africa, and India, if we want to stop more of those kinds of mutations, variants from occurring, we need to make our bodies not receptive to the virus in the first place. So let's make COVID angry, and you can really work hard to just stay in existence. I spent some quality time with our chief of police today, and he and Chief Smith and Lieutenant Bill Nichols informed me that just last night over in our wonderful city of Columbus, a sister city here in Columbia County, 30 vehicles were broken into in one night, 30. And the simple solution to this is lock your cars. Lock your cars and lock your house. Now, I grew up here. I will admit, my husband Ron and I don't believe we locked we had a door that didn't really have a knob that would lock, probably until like 20 years ago. Yeah. We were pretty stupid, to be honest. We live in a small town. Yes, we have a very low crime rate, but these are folks that come in from outside of our community and just look for opportunities. And if your car is unlocked, if your garage is unlocked, if your car is unlocked and you have a garage door opener in it, and heaven forbid your garage is attached to your house, you might as well put out a welcome mat and invite them in. So our police officers are doing an amazing job of keeping our community safe. I think you're going to be seeing them doing more foot patrols around the city to keep an eye on things and maybe be less visible to unwelcome guests in our community. But please just lock your door, lock your car, lock it up. It's a good safe thing.
It's a good reminder of some basic safety tips there that I grew up on a farm in a small community as well, and we never did, but we can't do that anymore.
It's a little different day and age.
Take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Wonderful note, the pool is open. Yay! That is such a beautiful thing. I had the pleasure of tootling down there yesterday. We were doing a walkabout on Fair Street. That's a project that we're going to be doing hopefully in 2025. We will be redoing Fair Street. So we were looking at sidewalk, curb and gutter and street, all the exciting things as mayor that we get to do. Also looking at our beautiful park, Gorse Park, and what could we do when we're redoing that street? What are some projects in the park that would make sense to perhaps tackle at that point in time? So I got a chance to go down and walk into the pool and meet some of the lifeguards and see Diana Carls and Heidi Endress from the crew staff, and they are doing such an incredible job running the pool this year. So thank you to the Lodi School District for making this happen. Thanks to Diana and Heidi and the crew staff. It's just fabulous. It's such an important part of our community.
I know my grandchildren said when I mentioned that, thank you. I love that pool.
That's so nice.
I'm glad. I also am glad to hear it. It's
excellent.
So many kids look forward to
it.
Spending time in the pool means summertime, or summertime means pool.
Absolutely. And after a year of no pool, it's just nice to hear laughter and splashing down there. So go out and visit our pool. An update, you do not have to make a reservation. We thought you might have to, but our attendance records show that the pool is rarely over 100 people at any given time in the summer. So we opted to not make folks make a reservation. So just come on down and you register when you walk in the gate and go have a good time. Reminder that the Save to Give Energy Challenge is going on right now. So, yeah, I haven't logged into my account to record my energy saving activities yet either. Yes, log in. So if you haven't, again, through your My account, through Lodi Utilities, go in, sign up for Save to Give, pick your local nonprofit. You can pick the Prairie Valley Resale Shop, Reach Out Lodi, or the Lodi School District PTO. And when you go in weekly and register your energy actions, like maybe we shut lights off, or we turned off power strips, we turned off electronics that we weren't using, yada, 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 those actions that you record and no one comes to check on you, but hopefully you're learning good behaviors. Those actions generate points, and points generate dollars. And we've got about $19,000 sitting on the table this summer, and we want every penny of that money to go to our 3 nonprofits and stay right here in our community. So please, Lodi Utilities customers, sign up for Save to Give. If you have questions, our fabulous utility staff downstairs, Peggy Richards or Lynette Mayberry, can walk you through how to do it, but it's pretty simple.
It is. It's very easy.
Yes, we were able to figure it out. That's a good thing. If you haven't been up on the, I guess it would be it's the Lodi Street, Nestle Street, Mill Street area, you may have noticed that the Mill Street Bridge over the railroad tracks is closed. And I should have mentioned this a few weeks ago. We had been informed last fall, I believe, from the County Highway Commissioner Chris Hardy, that the structural integrity of that bridge and the one over Chestnut Street is not good. And so they had informed us that we were going to have to close the Mill Street Bridge to car traffic for sure. It happened quickly in April, and we, through some miscommunication with the county, we weren't informed that it was going to happen. The bridge is closed. There's a little get around, so if you're a pedestrian, you can get over that bridge. But just so you all know, that bridge and the Chestnut Street Bridge probably in the next 3 years are going to have to be taken down. The city can't afford to replace both of them. We are going to be, I'm going to be asking the Common Council for the okay to begin applying for grants to replace the Chestnut Street Bridge that connects the whole northwest end of the community to the downtown area, plus our multi-purpose path, which we want the trail to be going through the whole community. It's now extended down Gay Street, which is wonderful with the street project over there. We put the multi-purpose path down on the north side of Gay Street. So that bridge really needs to be replaced. It won't be replaced as a car bridge. It'll be replaced as a pedestrian bike bridge. So we're going to be beating the bushes for some grant funding, but just be aware, both those bridges are never going to be car bridges again, and the Mill Street Bridge will cease to be a bridge at all. Which we're sorry to see it go, but those bridges, I believe, were put in the 1880s or 90s. They're well over 110 years old, and things just don't last forever. And in today's dollars, they ain't cheap to replace, and we got a whole lot of other needs in the community. I want to give a huge shout out to the Lodi Utilities crew. They just received a national award for outstanding safety practices. Woohoo! We are very proud of them, and that's great recognition. So congratulations to them. I also want to give a shout out to our water and wastewater treatment folks. They just, it's called the CMAR, and I can't remember what it stands for, but it's basically all of our water, wastewater treatment. Once again, a 4.0 out of 4.0, straight A's in all of the categories. Our crews take such good care of our city and do it with an eye toward environmental sensitivity, since we're right on the beautiful creek running through our community. So hats off to our Lodi crews. I'm telling you, I am a taxpayer here too in the city. I'm really proud of our staff. I would put them up against anybody. I also wanted to mention that the city is in the process of doing some strategic planning. Nancy is part of this group of about 25 of us who are in the process of doing 3 one-hour planning meetings The third one is tonight. And thank you to the folks who are involved in this. This same group of 25 is going to come together on Saturday, July 17th for a day-long retreat. So what we've been doing in these 3 prep sessions is noodling around what are the questions we want to tackle or address when we have this day-long retreat. And it's been a really great process so far.
Yes.
So tonight we're going to kind of finalize the 3 questions, and then we want your input. So late this week, probably early next week, I will publish something on the Lodi Valley Chronicle website. I will also we'll push it out on Facebook, and it will sort of give you an overview of where we're at with the strategic planning, and then ask you to give us your thoughts and feedback. I know one of the areas we want to address at the retreat is, what are our core values as a community? What does the Lodi community stand for? What do we value about our community? And this particular strategic planning process is a little different from the school districts. It's not a process where we're going to have a big public forum and have over 100 people for 2 nights. That just doesn't work into what we're working toward. The end result, the vision and strategic plan that will be coming out in August, is then a way to engage the community on those strategic initiatives. But we want to hear from you now. Next week, we will have a survey where you'll be able to go in and give us your thoughts on these questions that we're going to be wrestling with. So when we push that out, we're going to also ask the 25-ish people on this committee to be asking friends and family to weigh in on these things, but we want to hear your input. So please keep an eyeball peeled for that strategic planning input opportunity. You've been a part of it. What have you thought so far?
It's been a very enlightening experience, because I was surprised at the number of things that did come out. And I think part of the whole, and I think this is part of what you're thinking in getting us started in this, is what do we mean by community, and what do we mean by community here? A community like Lodi that's experiencing a fair amount of growth, new folks, and we want to maintain that sense of where we came from and what we are, but also to incorporate new folks and make sure that we have a diverse and welcoming community.
Yes, absolutely.
So there was a lot of issues that came out. I mean, I think we talked about housing. We talked about the wonderful school system that we have. We talked about the library as a wonderful resource in the community. But where else? What do these? Why do we want to, I guess, increase visibility for all of these things, as well as I say, increase our sense of community and what that means.
Yes, to be welcoming and inclusive, and to make sure that everyone who lives here has the equal opportunity to thrive. And I think I say it over and over again, how incredibly blessed I feel to be inhabiting this beautiful place at this point in time. And there's a lot of energy and a lot of positivity and a lot of optimism and hope. We need to be looking. My reason for wanting to do this is I think our community has just suffered from an identity crisis. My father and his generation of leaders are no longer with us. We don't have, aside from the Lodi Valley Chronicle, we do not have a local printed newspaper anymore. We don't have a central clearinghouse of information. We have wonderful things happening in all of these silos in the community. Wonderful, wonderful things. But we often, if we're not directly involved in those silos, we don't know exactly what's going on. There's a lot to celebrate about our community, but there's always ways to improve as well. So we need to figure out, who do we want to be? And who do we want, when people hear Lodi, what do we want them to think of? And all respect to Susie the Duck. Love Susie. Susie Day is coming up in August. No shade towards Susie. But I think some of us feel like it might be time for us to be known as something other than just home of Susie the Duck. That doesn't say a whole lot about our community. And we really are the gateway for recreation and fun.
The whole Lake Wisconsin community.
Absolutely.
I would say.
Lake Wisconsin, and we're an Ice Age Trail community, and we have amazing schools. So
very environmentally sensitive.
Yes. Yeah. So we want to leave our valley better than when we got here, and at the same time, just make this a better place for all of us to live.
I think it's a tough job, because I think as much as we do want to be a community with solid goals, I think there's a lot of things that work against creating community these days.
Yes.
We don't necessarily communicate with each other. And so building that on a larger scale to the entire community, I think is a tough job, but
Yep.
we're up to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've said it over and over again. The beautiful thing about local government and local communities like this is we do have control. We can see our dollars going to work right here. We can look out our windows and see the improvements happening. And you all are passionate about living here, which is so amazing. So let's harness that passion and let's create the vision and the strategy to get there together. So I will appreciate your input when the time comes. I just want to run down some events real fast. Mark your calendars. Art in the Park, Saturday, July 3rd. I think it's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. An event I look forward to every year.
It's always fun.
My husband hopes it'll be too hot for me to go because I spend way too much money. But it's also like the social event of the year. And having not had it last year, you can bet your sweet Fanny, I will be down there early in the morning. I can't wait. Thank you to our local arts council for putting this wonderful event on every year. If you have never been before, I don't know how many vendors just pack Haberman Park, which is a beautiful park and it's shady even on a hot day. And there's jewelry and pottery and woodworking and apparel and glasswork and fiber arts, and the list goes on and on and on.
Always a good draw.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. So mark your calendars for Saturday, July 3rd. The fair, Lodi Egg Fair, is sponsoring a fair food and movie night on Friday, July 9th. Tickets are on sale at Vern's Appliance. I think it's $25 for adults and $5 for children. You'll pull up and get a curbside delivery of fair food, and then you go in and watch a drive-in movie and you can eat your food there. Doesn't that sound like fun? So check it out. And if you're interested, go visit Nick and Mary up at Vern's Appliance and buy a ticket. The fair board is doing their best to create community. This is this event, the Friday night, is on the weekend that our fair would traditionally be on. But as
That's right, the fair moved this year.
This year the fair will be on Labor Day weekend. So the movie night is a way to remind people the fair is still going to happen and keep us connected to the fairgrounds. And I think it's a fundraiser for the fair as well. So a good thing to do with your family. Also mark your calendars for August 3rd. That's a Tuesday night. That is National Night Out. And that is a night where we focus on safety and community. And we had an LCAT meeting last week, which is the Lodi Community Action Team. And we discussed National Night Out. And I think we're looking at making some pretty cool changes to it. I don't know how much I'm allowed to speak about in public, but we're hoping it'll be down around the parks and Fair Street. And we're hoping some food trucks will be there and ample space for vendors and for families to come down and see fire trucks and ambulances. We put in a request for med flight. Of course, we never know if they can make it, but if they can, we hope they'll be landing down in that vicinity or over at the elementary school parking lot. So stay tuned for details, but lots of fun things. And I threw out a challenge to the police chief at this discussion last week. We were talking about the Boulders climbing wall. And I think we're going to ask the library if they might think about getting the Boulders climbing wall back for that night, or if somebody's interested in doing it.
Very popular, I understand.
It was 150 people, or over 100 anyway. And I challenged Police Chief Smith to climb the wall, and whoever gets to the top first wins, and whoever loses, Lieutenant Nichols at our police department has volunteered to try to find a dunk tank. So I will tell you this right now. I will kick our chief's fanny, and I look forward to dunking his butt in the dunk tank. So stay tuned for details. I think it's going to be an amazing night. So Tuesday, August 3rd, 5 to 8 generally, and watch for details on that. Great family fun night. Real quickly, Susie, the Duck Day is on August 14th. The Chamber has some fun new stuff planned. We're going to be over on Spring Street. So the street to the east of Main Street here, the street where the daycare is, behind Main Street, essentially. We're going to block that street off, and the Chamber of Commerce is going to have a vendor market, or a market down there with food vendors and whatever other vendor wants to sign up for it. They're going to have a band and a beer garden, and we're going to be downtown where we can support our local businesses. There will be a parade, a big parade. It's usually an hour and a half long, starting at 10 o'clock that morning. And the duck race will be back, so you can buy your duck derby tickets.
And that morning, the Friends of the Library will have their annual
That's right, fun run. Yes.
And so I urge people to sign up for that as well.
Thank you, Nancy. I forgot about that.
Forms available at the library. And I believe various businesses in town here have forms. So it's always a fun event.
It is.
The whole family can participate at whatever level you want.
There's a 1 mile walk, which is just a perfect stretch of your legs on a Saturday morning. And yeah, the t-shirt is always really cool.
Yep, they're coming out soon. And of course, that's a fundraiser for the library.
Big fundraiser for the library.
Really appreciate people getting involved.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, so please, and I think you can register right online. I already registered.
Yes,
so
you
can go to the library.
Yep,
Facebook page or the library website will get you over to register for the run as well. So last two things, Lodi Egg Fair, September 2nd to the 5th, which is Labor Day weekend. The fair has the whole schedule of events up on their website, so you can check that out. One of the glorious things about the fair, like our pool and art, all of these things, they're free. They're free. You only spend money if you want to go to the demo derby or some of the ticketed events. And of course, buying tickets to go on the rides and the good chicken barbecue every Friday night. I think that happens at the fair. So mark your calendars for Labor Day weekend for the Lodi Egg Fair. And finally, the Brewbarbecue is scheduled for September 18th. I don't think there are going to be huge changes with that. We have a meeting tomorrow with the chamber about event planning for that. But the game plan right now is we will once again block off Main Street. We'd like to do that more often, but it's a challenge when our Main Street is also a state highway. So it gets a little dicey if we want to shut it off for long periods of time. But Brewbarbecue is the one event every year where we shut Main Street down and we get to wander around on Main Street and visit. And there's, the beanbag or toss, corn, whatever that stuff's called, bag toss tournament and beer and homebrew and ribs and salsa competitions.
And a chance to visit all the local businesses.
Yes. Well, so please mark your calendars for Saturday, September 18th. Okay, enough about all that stuff. On to some government stuff. So first of all, ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act, and that is the big bill that was signed or passed back in March, I believe. And a big part of the ARPA bill was funding to local municipalities. So I'll try not to speak legalese or jargon from a government standpoint. So basically, we as a municipality, the city of Lodi, is going to get federal money. We are slated to get about $323,000. That is going to come in 2 installments. I believe Julie, our director of admin, has already applied for our first installment, which will be about half of that money. The money going to municipalities goes to the state first and then gets distributed out to cities, towns, and villages. But the counties are also getting money. And Nancy, can you talk a little bit about Columbia County?
And the counties are getting funding directly from the federal government. And it's my understanding that, in fact, we have received somewhere in the neighborhood of $5.5 million, a nice round figure. We're not sure yet what guidelines exist for us to use that money. It's kind of an open question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that we will be able to use it for some COVID recovery fund activities and to support some things that we had to do during the pandemic that we would be great to get reimbursement for. So I guess stay tuned for how that might be dispersed. Totally, I think Columbia County is supposed to get somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 to $11 million. It sounds wonderful. It's a nice size chunk of change, but we are staying tuned for the specificity of how we spend it. And of course, we have to be accountable for all those dollars.
Yes.
And so I'm sure we'll be hearing more as we start soon budget time.
I was on a couple of us here were on a 4.5-hour webinar today about the ARPA funding and the Wisconsin Counties Association, the Wisconsin Association of Towns, the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, They were all involved. Tommy Thompson, who's the former governor and interim director of the UW system, was involved. And then a number of municipal and government leaders from around the state. There were several breakout sessions. The funds there are a lot of restrictions for what we can use the money for. So it's not like we can say it's not mad money,
Yeah.
but there is a lot of optimism and anticipation that this is money that we will never have this opportunity again in our lifetimes. Nancy and I, this is money akin to kind of the New Deal funding from decades ago. So there's a lot of angst. I don't know if that's the right word, but I know personally, I feel like don't mess this up. We all talked about how this money should be invested in things that are going to benefit our children and our grandchildren and the generations to come. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we plug, a hole somewhere. So stay tuned. The Treasury Department has already issued a 125-page guidance on how to spend the funds. It's not the most user-friendly right now. The thing is, we're segregating the money. The county has done this. Yep. We're going to just set the money aside until we know a little bit more. The last year and a half with the pandemic has, I hope, helped people understand the complexities of trying to address the needs and fallout from the pandemic when you're rolling things out to 330 million people and umpteen municipalities, and the complexities of coming up with guidance when everybody has, well, can I spend this on this? I mean, everybody has a ton of questions about this. So it's just going to take some time. We need to be patient. We will be figuring out ways to get people's input, or at least put our ideas out of where we want this money to go. I know one of the big drivers in the city of Lodi and the town of Lodi and the town of West Point is our need for a new fire station. And in the city, we need a new police department. So, whether we can earmark some of that funding in that direction, stay tuned. But just know it's exciting.
It is.
And there's a sense of don't blow it.
Yeah, exactly. Put those dollars to use, as you said, that will be some longer term benefit.
Yeah.
I think there is that tendency to look at these dollars as how can we supplement our budgets or make up for some things. And I gotta say, that's crossed my mind for a couple different areas. You can't help but do that as a public person, to think about how that will help your budget. But at the same time, we do have a number of things, and I think there are some areas where local government, county and city and the other municipalities can come together potentially to look at some planning. So I hope exciting times, and I hope will be beneficial broadly based. Absolutely.
A lot of discussion about broadband and infrastructure, investing to get everybody on a level playing field with access to the internet. For those of us who don't live in the city, I'll be very candid. Part of the reason I don't want to build out on our farm is the lack of Wi-Fi connectivity would make me want to hurt myself. So, hopefully this will start to level the playing field and make those things more accessible for everybody. The main reason I asked Nancy to join me tonight was to talk about the Fair Maps initiative. And I know y'all are probably sick of us talking about this. You're going to get more sick of it because I can't even tell you how I hear news stories. And for me, so much of it boils down to the fact that if we do not get fair maps, if we do not have a chance to have representation in the state that is responsive to the state, responsive to the needs of the citizens, the will of the citizens, we're going to have another 10 years of stagnation. A lot of the discussion this morning on this webinar was about workforce shortages. Well, having worked at the university for 30 years of my life, I can tell you when young people come here to college and see a state that is not progressive, is not investing in its citizen, is not investing in infrastructure, not making broadband available, not doing anything to look down the road and make us economically competitive or have initiatives to try to keep folks here, they leave. And we are reaping the benefits of this, folks.
I think even more telling about the importance of this issue is the fact that survey after survey tells us that we have broad support For example, Medicaid, increasing Medicaid funding. There's broad support.
$1.6 billion. Why would you leave that in Washington, D.C.?
Broad support for increasing the minimum wage.
Broad support for legalization of cannabis.
And public education. But all of this, we're getting that same, no movement on either side to address these issues. And then long term, all these issues get kicked down the road for somebody else to deal with.
And they get more expensive when you kick them down the road, as we well know.
So I think it's an important issue to look at a bipartisan way that we can redistrict that would hopefully allow a broader number of candidates wanting to and willing to get into public offices and have a fair chance of getting there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think it's an important issue for many reasons.
It sure is.
Yeah.
It sure is. And I'm, for me, it is the health of our state, the positioning of Wisconsin. You all have probably heard my grandfather and my great uncle were members of the Progressive Party back in the 30s. My great uncle was one of the folks who wrote the first unemployment compensation law in the country that happened here in the state of Wisconsin. There are so many things that Wisconsin was known for: clean government, transparent government, that has just gone by the wayside in the last 10 years. And I've just met with some relatives who are all descendants of my grandfather and great uncle over the last couple of weeks, and just this overwhelming despair at how our state in 10 years, which seems like a blip, we have fallen so far behind our fellow Midwesterners. We used to be this shining beacon in the upper Midwest, and really we are lagging behind in some serious ways. So, and I will say, so one of the big arguments is, well, no process can be completely nonpartisan. That's not the point. The point for me is that if you have skin in the game, if you're going to benefit from how those districts are redrawn, you shouldn't be in that room. Yes, when you walk in the door, you did vote for somebody in the last presidential election. You do have opinions on things, but your career and your future in endeavors is not going to rest on how those districts are redrawn. That makes a huge difference. So Democrats and Republicans alike have abused redistricting when the power has been in their court. It's time to get it out of that. I think so much of the trouble we're facing now as a country is because we have two parties and two parties only, and all they do is bicker and fight. And if you've watched anything the governor sends out, the legislature won't approve. Anything they do, the governor is against, and I'm sick of it. I'm just tired of it.
And I think one of the things that from my view of getting involved in Fair Maps, is to get it out in the public.
Yes.
I'm back in 2010. This was done behind closed doors.
Total secrecy.
Yeah, and there was no public hearings on the legislation that evolved from that. And so I think it's very important that this process be out in the open, and that citizens have a chance to participate in it, and hopefully arrive at a better or more bipartisan results.
Yes.
And that's really, there has been legislation introduced now that essentially would set the standards for a nonpartisan redistricting process in the state of Wisconsin. So I would urge people to find out about that legislation that's been introduced, find out the committees that's been assigned to. I think it's governmental relations and I'm blanking, operations, maybe governmental operations. But anyway, and speak to your legislators. Tell them your feelings about establishing a nonpartisan process for redistricting. It can be done in other states. I think
Iowa,
and about at least 12 or 15 states that have a nonpartisan way of redistricting. So we know it can be done, and it's a matter of will.
Yes, absolutely. If you just Google Fair Maps Wisconsin,
Yes.
or you Google the People's Map Commission, which was the governor appointed commission that held hearings in every congressional district in the state, got input broadly from people. They have developed 4 or 5 core concepts or guiding principles.
I can't.
I don't
remember.
remember.
I don't remember now either.
That's one thing I didn't print out before we came in here. But
Yeah.
anyway, they developed these guiding principles of how these districts should be drawn. One of the big things is to keep communities of common interest together. So if you look at our own county, for instance, the way it was redistricted last time, they pulled Columbus out on one side, they pulled Portage out on the other side. They kept Lodi in with this swath of the mid part of the county, but then added slivers of 5 other counties to, I mean, it's just, it is mind-boggling that this was considered to be a legitimate district. That can't happen again. And it doesn't make any sense. And we, again, have politicians in power right now who absolutely ignore the will of the people because they can. Because they're going to get reelected. It is absolutely guaranteed. We deserve better. Damn it, we deserve better. There is so much anti-democracy, lowercase democracy stuff happening right now. Another thing Nancy and I wanted to talk very briefly about are the voter suppression bills. I'm sorry, there has yet to be proven any widespread election fraud from the 2020 campaign or election. And it really troubles me that people who were elected in that election are saying that it was a fraudulent election. And I'm sorry, when you are willing to lie, that is what it is. It is a lie. And when you are willing to stand there and perpetuate this lie over and over and over again, that is anti-democracy. This country is a democracy. I am really angry that people think it's okay to manipulate their constituents into thinking whatever they want them to think. And it's got to stop, folks. So stop listening to partisan hacks and Google the stuff yourself and become informed. Yeah. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to Nancy. No. Think for yourself and use some common sense. And if you know anything about elections, get involved. Become election volunteer. Nancy and I have both been election inspectors. You still are, aren't you?
Yes, I am. And I think that's one of the things that I personally felt offended by.
Yes,
some of these legislators.
It's insulting.
That what we were doing was fraudulent, or we were influencing the process, or somehow dipping our hands in it. And I got involved in this many years ago through another friend who was a poll worker for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I've never known a group of people who were so concerned about dotting I's and crossing T's.
And transparency. I mean, the voting machines are demonstrated publicly. You can come and watch them demonstrate how the polling machine works prior to the elections. I mean, everything is so accounted for and so transparent and run by your friends and neighbors. And when you start saying that there was widespread election fraud, you're insulting Nancy and myself and all those fabulous people who work the polls when you go vote. It is horse crap. And then to use a lie as an excuse to make it harder for people to vote is disgusting. Mm-hmm. If you are an elected person, you take an oath to defend the Constitution of this country. Nancy and I have both taken this oath numerous times. And when you start, the cornerstone of our democracy is the fundamental right to vote. Mm-hmm. We fought hard, lives were lost trying to preserve this right. Mm-hmm. And now we have folks in charge who think it's okay to make it harder for you to vote. I'm sorry, it should be a national holiday. You should be able to vote on a weekend, perhaps, for weeks ahead of time. What's wrong with voting by mail? Why shouldn't we be making every effort possible, conceivable, to ensure that you have every opportunity to cast your ballot? Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't require proof of residency or identification of some form, but when you start limiting poll hours, when you start limiting drop-off spots, when you start pulling all of this control in and just making, I mean, right now our elections are on a Tuesday. I don't know about the rest of you, but I commuted 40 minutes back and forth to work. I did not have small children at home, but for those of you who have to get home and feed a family and, start in on homework for the evening, finding time on a Tuesday to vote can be quite a challenge.
Reasons for a national
That's
holiday
right.
for voting.
That's right. There are,
It is.
yeah, I was very interested when I went to Peru. It is required that you vote in Peru. And in fact, you pay a fine if you do not vote. I'm not advocating that,
Yeah.
but that is how seriously they take that action by their citizens. So demand better from your elected representatives. For us here in the city of Lodi, our state senator is Joan Ballweg. Our local assembly rep is John Plummer. Let them know how you feel about this stuff. Whether it's a phone call, you see them in the grocery store, write a letter, send an email. Just let them know that, honestly, I just expect better from people who run for office. And I'm deeply disappointed at some of the crap that's been going on.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to say something and I'll shut up now.
Well, I was just going to say those same individuals, I would recommend that you write and express your opinion about fair maps and about nonpartisan redistricting.
And Medicaid expansion. And if you're interested in
that we mentioned, because I think, again, to me, the situation that we're currently experiencing, where, as my daughter described it, we have a log jam on everything. We can't get moving on anything. Is detrimental to
Absolutely.
all of us. It's I know one of the things that hits county government anyway is our battle for that levy limits have gone
Yes.
on for years and years, and this has a negative impact. We can't even get a discussion on it. It was automatically pulled out. And so I think all of these point to me that we need to be sure that we have an open process of redistricting and allow a broad participation in the process, so we get some fair districts and encourage people to get involved and run for office. I think that's one of the other downsides.
Thank you. I was just going to go there. Thank you for getting us there.
Transitioning.
Yes, that's beautiful. Great minds think alike and all that good stuff.
We want to encourage people to run for office, and I think we're in a situation now where oftentimes folks that, oh well, I'm not going to go there. I don't get what's going on there, or those people are up to no good. Get involved.
Please get involved.
I certainly am willing to talk with anyone about what local government at the county level is all about, what I have done. And I hope to do some more writing about that. But happy to answer questions for people who might be thinking about running for office or getting involved. And you can get involved. You don't necessarily even have to run for office, but find out what the local committees are doing and show up at those meetings and find out what's going on. I think it's a great way for you to build a sense of community.
Absolutely.
What's going on.
And again, to leave this place a little better for our children and grandchildren. If you have in the last however many years said to yourself, there's got to be a better way, or I have some suggestions, or I think I could do better than that, or I would at least have some input on that, we want your head at the table. Every one of you has something to offer that would benefit your community or county or state. So please think about running or getting involved in some way, shape, or form. I will throw it again. My cell phone number is 608-573-2117. And my email is agrovesloyd@cityoflodi.us. Please reach out to me. I love hearing from people. Seriously, it makes me happy. So if you're interested in getting involved, whether it's in our strategic plan once it gets rolled out or helping us figure out, please reach out to us. Nancy's dealing with really difficult issues at the county level. Could you tell them a little bit about the power plant closing?
Yes, we're coming up on the annual budget process. As a matter of fact, next week, the county, the chairs of the standing committees and the county, or the heads of county departments will be getting together to initiate the budget process. And many of you may have read that the Columbia County Power Plant is closing. There's 2 units there. The first unit is scheduled to close in 2023. and the next one in 2025. And this is going to hit the county budget because we get revenue from the power plant. Initially, the projection is that we will lose the first year something in the neighborhood of $850,000, and that's a big hit in a budget. And while we're hopeful that there still might be some ways around some funding at the local level to support this loss, I think we are going to be really looking seriously at what the implications are for this. Currently, department heads have been told to plan for a zero-based budget for 2022. So, basically keeping the things the same as they were in 2021 in the budget development process. But we need to be aware and start planning for what the implication might be in the next few years. Certainly the committees I'm involved with, I will urge them to do that. If we're looking at a significant cut, then we need to be prepared for that. So,
and
stay tuned.
This is where we need courageous, bold, forward-thinking folks, because so the old saying of when a door closes somewhere, a window opens somewhere else. So we are losing a coal-fired or coal-powered plant. From an environmental perspective, that's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, exactly.
There's an economic impact. So what's the opportunity here? Well, electric vehicle, investing in
more
renewable,
wind
and solar energy, investing in electric vehicle charging stations in our communities. Wouldn't it be lovely for Columbia County and our communities to be known as a really great place to go shop and travel around, and you can charge your EV wherever you go? That would just, it's challenging, and my heart aches for people who are going to be losing their job. That's the hardest part of all of this.
It is. People will lose their jobs, and it is an opportunity. And I know there are a number of people out there who are fearful that we're not going to have enough power when the power plant closes.
That's not going to happen.
But at least the legislature that I have talked with is reassuring that in fact there will be enough power. But it is something we need to do.
Absolutely.
To protect our planet.
Absolutely.
I'm in complete agreement with that. The downside, of course, is that people will lose some jobs, obviously, and we will also have to compensate budget-wise.
Yes.
So, but hopefully, as Ann was just saying, this is some opportunities here to look forward and to do some planning.
Absolutely. Well, we are running short on time. Nancy and I both have to be in another meeting in 8 minutes. So much for going home to do that. One last shout out I want to give, and I meant to have this at the top of the list. I hope you all have noticed the beautiful American flags flying out on Main Street. They're gorgeous. A big thank you to Dory Bilsey and Sue Gaethel. They're the ones who took this on and got donations, private donations and business donations, worked with our director of operations, Terry Weeder, and got the flags ordered and the brackets ordered, and our crew got everything up this last week. The goal was to have these gorgeous flags flying by 4th of July, and we've got them flying.
Yay.
So thank you. Our community looks better. The donations by the Eberts of our bike repair stations and the basketball hoops that Nick and Adora Bilsey donated. Our community is better because of people getting involved, and I'm sure any of them would be happy to talk to you about how they took initiative to make some things happen. But these are visible improvements in our community, and I thank everyone who is doing this. We can show how we love where we live in an infinite number of ways.
Yes,
we need you to help us do it.
We do.
So reach out to us, Nancy, and I love to hear from you.
We do.
And you will be hearing from us again.
Or I should say I do. I shouldn't speak for you.
Oh,
but
no.
I'm happy to hear from folks as well.
Yeah, Nancy and I are all about getting folks engaged, and for me, I think for Nancy too, the work that we do is a calling for us, and part of who we are, and we're just honored to be here and honored to be representing you and working on your behalf. So thank you for your time tonight. Have a safe week. I won't be back until July 14th. But on July 14th, my guests will be Adam Steinberg, who is the president of the school board, and Vince Breinig, who is the superintendent of our school district. And we're going to have a great discussion about the strategic planning process the school district just went through, and some of the stuff that's floating around in the community about the school district. So I'm really excited about that conversation, and I'm excited for all of you to see the new ways that the school district and the city are working together and communicating together. Getting our pool open this summer was just one example of that. So come back on July 14th. In the meantime, Art in the Park, have a safe 4th of July, and get your shot.
Indeed.
Indeed. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Yep, bye now. Thank you.